Today on Morning Drive, we take you inside the ropes with Tiger Woods during his Pro-Am round as he prepares to make his first ever start in the Valspar Championship tomorrow. See what areas of his game he is focusing on and hear which holes have gotten his attention this week.
Yeah, I guess he is going to do it again.
In 2015, Jordan Spieth ranked #1 in 3 different putting categories. Now he finds himself outside the top 100 in those same stats. Our analysts will tell you how concerned he should be going forward, plus get tips to rebuild your own putting stroke if it is in disarray.
Steve Stricker, the winner. Pick up your first PGA Tour Champions victory.
Plus, we will be joined by the newest winner on the PGA Tour Champion. Find out how Steve Stricker overcame an intimidating tee shot to capture a title he let slip through his grasp a year ago. And we will get his take on his fellow Ryder Cup vice captain's current comeback. All that and more on Morning Drive today, Wednesday, March 7th, 2018. And good morning. We begin by taking you inside the ropes of the man with 79 PGA Tour victories, 14 of them major championships as Tiger Woods begins Pro-Am Day at the Valspar Championship. This is his second shot on his opening hole. You see he has missed the green, but he's just getting started. About 100 miles from our own home and studio AP in Palm Harbor, Florida. We welcome you, Damon Hack, alongside a couple of PGA Tour winners and Nota Begay III and Robert Dameron the first. Gentlemen, good morning. What's on your mind today?
Not a whole lot. I'm just looking forward to this, to getting Valspar started. The best field they've ever had. Tiger Woods again. I mean, we can't stop watching this fella.
Feels like a special year, does it not? We've got, Phil Mickelson coming off of his victory after a long wait, after that Open Championship. We've got young players playing well, and of course we have the 14-time major champion.
Well, we've got Michelle Wie winning after quite some time. We've got Phil Mickelson winning after over 100-plus starts. And then now we have Tiger Woods sort of on the resurgence, not to mention Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, and Jordan Spieth. So a handful of those are playing this week, which I think is going to be great. You have McIlroy and Spieth and Woods all teeing it up. And I think it's going to be a wonderful first day coming tomorrow.
Exciting times. We'll have highlights all morning from the Pro-Am of Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy as well. Right now, let's say good morning to Lauren Thompson. How are you, LT?
Good morning, guys. Ready to get this party started, right? Is the game of golf in a good spot or what? So check this out. Making his first start in the Valspar Championship this week, Rory McIlroy. Nota was just touching on this. The 4-time major champion made his initial trip around the Copperhead course at Innisbrook on Tuesday, and we'll get another 18 holes in today during the Pro-Am. So McIlroy, currently the 12th ranked player in the world, continues his busy run up to the Masters. He's going to officially get this week's competition started on the 10th hole alongside a 3-time PGA Tour winner in Gary Woodland, who broke through here in 2011, as well as a fellow multi-major champ and one of McIlroy's former Ryder Cup teammates in Justin Rose at 7:45 a.m. Eastern. And you can check out Golf Channel's coverage of the 18th edition of the Valspar Championship tomorrow, noon Eastern time. Today, though, Damon Hack is taking you inside the ropes.
Absolutely, LT, to a 4-time major champion, the aforementioned Rory McIlroy. Nice start this year in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. He finished tied for third and a second-place finish. Note he slowed down a bit on the PGA Tour. He has a missed cut. He has a tie for 20th and a tie for 59th at the Honda. When you look at Rory here, obviously hitting some of the bigger clubs in his bag as he gets ready for his Pro-Am day, what do you see in him big picture right now?
Well, big picture, I mean, I think a handful of these guys are looking at Augusta and trying to get their games to peak at the right time. I mean, it's simply for Rory been a function of just missed opportunities on the green. He's not converting a lot of the chances that he's creating with the longer clubs. He's such a magnificent driver of the ball. If you look back over the history of his career, he is hardly ever outside the top 5 in strokes gained off the tee. There's only been 2 years in his career where he had a positive gain against the field statistically in the strokes gained putting category, 2012 and 2014. Those were 2 major championship seasons where he was able to knock off a major championship in those years. So when he just putts average, he's dangerous because, Robert, his ball striking is so consistent.
It's incredible, and you're right. We notice his putting probably a lot more. He almost exudes a lack of confidence when you see him over a 5, 6, 7, 8 footer. Sometimes you can almost just see it, whereas if you think of some of the best putters, Justin Thomas now, you can just see the confidence he has when he stands over it. But beyond just the putting, I'm looking at those wedges. Here's a guy that drives it as well as anyone, no question. And he has as many wedges as anyone into these par fours. And he's really kind of weak. He hits this kind of balloon that lands short a lot of times and spins off the front. Like it rides up the face. He can't quite control it. He's actually 198th in proximity from 50 to 75 yards, 184th from 75 to 100. He has a ton of wedges into these par fours. He needs to somehow find a way, a key to tidy that up. And the putting, Noda, I think he's one of the players, like you said, he doesn't need to putt great to win because his ball striking and driving are so good. But if he just gives himself a little more opportunities, hit some of those. Look at JT's the last 2 weeks. The 72nd hole wedge shots, that's probably the back-to-back best wedge shots on a 72nd hole in the history of golf. Almost hold the one at Honda and did hold the one last week.
Right. Well, do you think he's close? Because listen, Noda, Rory spent all last summer. I followed him at the Irish Open, the Scottish Open, the Open, telling everybody, I'm close. I'm close. I think he was just trying to talk himself into good golf because he was coming off of an injury. Do you believe he is closer now to the level of Rory McIlroy golf we expect than he was a year ago?
Well, absolutely, because he's healthy. I mean, he's swinging healthy. He's putting in good sessions on the range before and after his rounds on the PGA Tour. He's already had a couple decent starts this year, so it's not a function of whether or not the components exist. They do exist. It's a function of whether he can put them together over the course of 72 holes. And so building up and trying to trend in the positive direction headed in to the first full week in April, I think, is at the forefront of his mind. And that particular club right there is going to go a long way towards him winning a couple tournaments this year.
Rory McIlroy getting his day underway. Pro-Am Day will have his news conference, as you see. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Jordan Spieth. Golf Central beginning at noon Eastern Time. For now, we send it back to Lauren Thompson.
And as our viewers likely know by now, Rory not the only one making his debut. Tiger Woods preparing to make his first start in the Valspar Championship. Not a stranger to Innisbrook, although it has been 22 years since he's competed on the Copperhead course back in 1996. That was in a team event with Kelly Keeney. This time, though, he's going to be playing with quite the combo in Jordan Spieth, who took the title in 2015 after a dramatic playoff, if you remember that, with Patrick Reed, and also Henrik Stenson, who has finished tied for 11th or better here in each of his 3 appearances at the event. So Damon, this one's going to have quite the gallery following.
Yeah, 15 of the top 35 players in the world in the field this week at the Valspar. And this is Tiger Woods getting his Pro-Am Day underway, 6:50 a.m. Eastern Time. Robert Damon, this is approach to his opening hole.
Well, let's forget the approach. Did you see where he was hitting from?
The fairway.
Split center of the fairway, and that first fairway is not an easy one to hit.
Noda, a lot of attention on the short game as always.
Yeah, it's actually been pretty solid thus far this year, and he's put a lot of work in. He's got a beautiful facility in his backyard, and he's just going to have to sort of get a sense for those shots like that. It kind of ran out a couple extra feet longer, chipping down the hill, down the green, and kind of get an understanding of where he can miss the ball on certain holes to be able to give himself easier chip shots.
We see Tiger's 2018 results at tie for 23rd in San Diego, a miscut in LA at Riviera, and of course that really impressive 12th place finish at the Honda. Noted this is the golf course at the Valspar Copperhead that he hasn't seen since 1996 at the J.C. Penney alongside Kelly Keeney. So what types of things will he be working on this morning? What does he want to see out of his game?
Well, I think, a couple things that we talked about over the last couple of days is just trying to get a sense of the green complexes and sort of understanding which green complexes are going to present the biggest problems. I think, the second, whenever the pin is on the front half of the green and putting back to that pin from the middle of the green on the second hole is difficult. The 18th is always causes some major problems. And then just getting your sight lines off some of these tee boxes, the 6th, the 11th, and maybe even the 14th hole are critical tee shots that you can really take advantage of the golf course in those particular holes if you're able to make a par or birdie and pick up a shot on the field. The
Pro-Am Day is a different animal than just a regular practice round. You're playing with perhaps a business person or leader or a sponsor. So how do you kind of balance the work that you have to do and put in with the gift of gab and maybe telling stories with your Pro-Am partner?
You definitely have 2 jobs to do, and there's so many players on tour. Some have an easier time of doing both as far as keeping the sponsors happy and also working on your game and making sure you know the course as well as you could. But for Tiger, and Noda said it, the sight line's off the tee, so he needs to know if I hit it at this tree in the distance with a 2-iron, which I assume he'll use a lot of this week, it may just go through. So I need to stay that same line and back down to a 3-iron, or do I need to keep the 2-iron and just change my sight line a little bit? And then also, when you haven't seen a course in a long time, you got to look big picture. So you look around the greens. Where do I never want to miss it? You know, a lot of these greens are sloped back to front, so never long. So you're really not getting too deep into it. You're looking at big picture, and you know, you're trusting Joe LaCava to take a few extra notes too, and probably help you more there than he will next week at Bay Hill, which he's played 100 times.
All right, now let's take a walk over to our touchscreen, because this is a golf course that has some interesting holes. The snake pit gets all the attention, you know, the finish at the Copperhead, but you found some holes in this golf course that also have a little bit of intrigue, starting on the front nine with number 6.
Well, over the course of the last 5 years in covering this for NBC and Golf Channel, this is one hole that I think presents a lot of problems to players. It has a left to right dogleg shape to it, but the fairway slopes from right to left. So you look into this particular zone, this is kind of where the players are going to be wanting to hit right here.
Okay.
But then, as you see, you can't really see it, but I'm going to point it out. This fairway slopes from right to left. So players are going to want to be hitting a cut shot into this fairway with a 3-wood or a driver if they want to sort of play aggressive. A lot of times they'll run into problems in this particular section, and then they'll run through over here, and you can see the tall pines will create some major issues for players trying to recover from an errant tee shot. And then if you move up into the green complex here, the most difficult section of this green to access is this far left-hand section. And players, it's very narrow. This from here to here is maybe 10 to 12 yards. And so if you're coming in there with a short iron, yes, it's very accessible.
Right.
But if you're coming in with a 7 or a 6 iron for players that maybe take a 2-iron or a 3-wood off of the tee, then it starts to present some issues. And this slopes a little bit away from players as they go over the green, which presents some problems. I've seen some guys run into trouble over there. And then the next tee, as you can see, is elevated up here. So everything on this green wants to slant from right to left. So players need to incorporate that into when they're reading their putts and trying to convert so hopefully what is a makeable birdie putt.
80 feet of elevation change on the golf course. And number 6 last year played the most difficult on the golf course at Copper. Let's go to the back nine now. This is where, you know, 16, 17, 18 gets all the attention, but maybe a hole that Tiger Woods and company should pay attention to starting tomorrow.
Go ahead and hit the 11th hole.
11, all right.
This makes or breaks a lot of players. It is one of the toughest driving holes that you'll find sort of on the PGA Tour, simply because you got to shoot down this narrow channel, and you really need to stay away. As you can see, there's a cart path that runs all the way from the tee to the green, and all of this is trouble. Anything over here is major trouble, just because there's OB over there.
Right.
And then this is where I suspect Tiger might want to miss a few drives if he gets a little errant off the tee. And you see a lot of players bail out either away from the fairway bunkers or away from the cart path and the OB left, and you'll see them in these right trees. And it just becomes a process of recovery from that particular point, because then players will have to lay up into this section right here, which is very narrow. Again, you see this cart path running up the left-hand side, which is permanently in the player's mind once they walk up to that tee. And then as you get to the green complex here, it's a very small, shallow green in sections. And players that are going to take advantage of this hole, maybe on one of the particular days when they have a hole location that's cut in this back section, may be able to bring something in there, land it on the front, get it to stay on the green, and have a makeable eagle putt. Shots ending up around the screen aren't the most difficult shots to get up and down. They may present some problems depending if you get an uphill or downhill lie in some of these bunkers, but for the most part, it's a very birdieable hole if you get it in the fairway.
Second easiest hole on the golf course last year. Pros making a 5 are not going to be happy walking off this hole.
Pros making a 5 on a par 5 in any tournament are not going to be happy at any golf course.
Good stuff from Nota Begay. Yes, you can watch press conferences, Tiger Woods, Jordan Spieth, and Rory McIlroy beginning noon Eastern time on Golf Central. What else is happening now? Probably a big smile on the face of 21-year-old Shubhankar Sharma yesterday, given a Masters invitation due to his great play over the last few months. 2 wins on the European Tour since December, and of course that tie for 9th at the WGC Mexico Championship, where he had the lead at the 36-hole and 54-hole points. He said, "I'm deeply honored to be found worthy of an invitation by the Masters Committee. It's a dream come true. My gratitude." He'll become the 4th player from India to compete in the Masters following Jeeves Milkha Singh, Arjun Atwal, and Anirban Lahiri. And I'll tell you what, Sharma has some work to do this week competing in the Indian Open alongside Andrew Johnston and Julian Surrey. Our coverage begins 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For more, we send it back to LT.
Damon, that's good news on a lot of fronts. I was captivated by his swing in Mexico. Can't wait to see how he's going to perform at Augusta National. But still on the way this Wednesday on Morning Drive with the Valspar taking place in Palm Harbor, Florida, part of the greater Tampa Bay area. Matt Janella, our travel expert, taps you into the Tampa golf scene and the goods on great layouts you should take in for a test drive if you're there in the area watching the PGA Tour. And while your casual rounds there should be relatively pressure-free, the heat will be on for Jordan Spieth this week, especially with what we've seen recently from him on the green. So hear from him himself on the putting woes, what he says the culprit is, and a putting 101 segment for you by Nota Begay about the most imperative part. Spieth, though, trying to get back to his famous flat stick ways. He's going to have to bring it because this guy, Tiger Woods, is trending in the right direction towards a highly anticipated trip back into the winner's circle. We're going to be taking you inside the ropes today to Tiger Woods on the range this morning, Pro-Am Day, and the eve of his fourth official start of 2018. And guys, a lot of his fans thinking that he's trending all the way to a win that could happen on Sunday. Fellas,
I'm down with that, LT. That would work. Listen, we want to see Tiger and Spieth together. This is what we want. Hogan, Palmer, Nicklaus. We want different generations going head to head, do we not?
I'd love to see a good showdown with just a handful of these guys going after it.
Let's do it. Let's get it on.
Who do we talk to?